Welcome, I'm Caren Baginski. Thanks for joining me here on your mat. This is a restorative yoga class for reducing stress and overwhelm. You're going to need some props, so gather up a yoga bolster and 3 blankets. And before we get started, I want to tell you about a new online spiritual community that I formed called Held. Held is for those who identify as feminine, and we gather monthly for live yoga classes to remember who we are beyond the layers of stress and overwhelm in our lives. So you can find all of that information in the description below or up here. I invite you to come join me there. Let's dive right into this class, taking a comfortable seat in Thunderbolt. You can use a blanket for this or just simply sit on your heels. And if you're using the blanket, then I suggest folding it up a couple times into a thick fold and placing that in between the heels to offer some lift for your hips. The knees do not need to touch if you've got the prop in between. Once you find yourself there, let's just let the arms rest and dangle with the palms down on the thighs. And close the eyes if that feels comfortable, and if not comfortable, then just simply take the gaze downward to one unmoving point. We'll enter into the practice through lengthening the exhale. So empty all your air when you're ready. Then inhale through the nose. And exhale deeply through the mouth. Continue that 2 more times, inhaling and simply exhaling through the mouth. Rather than thinking about how deep can you make this, just let it be smooth and continuous as you complete this next exhale through the mouth. Now we'll add a sound. So inhale just as you did before through the nose. And make the sound of yam. Yam. And keep going until there's no more breath left. Inhaling when you're ready, the sound of yam is the seed sound of the heart chakra. Once more, just like that. Take your time. Now breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the nose with closed lips, seeing if you can lengthen that exhale just like you did when you were making the sound of yam. Inhaling normally. Slow down the exhale. It's okay if you still feel a little agitated, but maybe this is lulling you into a bit of rest. We'll do it for 1 more round. Complete that round with a slow, continuous, fluid exhale. Just welcoming yourself here. It's okay how you're showing up exactly as you are. And once you're finished with that exhale, then let the breath return to a natural, effortless pace. And open the eyes if they were closed or lift them from the floor. We'll move our way into our first restorative yoga pose, which is supported child's pose. So first, let's come off and loosen up through the knees and the thighs. So taking whatever prop you had underneath you away and coming up to a table position. Stretch both of your legs back one at a time, and this is how you will exit from supported child's pose. So just spend a few moments here in table, extending both legs back, tucking the toes to the floor, and even pushing your weight back into the soles of the feet. And now release the knees down into table, and let's move into cow and cat before we come into rest and stillness. So inhale and allow the belly to soften, to drop, shoulder blades hug together, gaze slightly forward and up, and then exhale, relax the head, arch through the whole spine toward the sky. Inhale, dropping the belly into cow pose. Exhale, lifting into cat. Let's do this one more time, finding some fluidity and motion in the body and the breath. And then sit back on your heels as we set up for supported child's pose. Bring one of your blankets across the middle of your mat. I'm opening mine into what's called a basic fold, and you can find instructions for this in my Restorative Yoga book. But basically getting it to be about half the width of the mat or a little bit wider and sending that right in the center. Take your flat bolster and move it up lengthwise up the middle of the mat. Find your way to another blanket, and let's fold this into a rectangle fold blanket, which basically mimics the shape of the bolster, long skinny rectangle folded right on top. Smooth out any wrinkles, and then come with your knees on either side of the blanket and the bolster. And behind you, we have an option. So if you notice that once you come down in supported child's pose, there's a lot of pressure at your ankles, then I invite you to roll up the blanket here underneath the ankles a little bit, and that will give you just a little bit of lift. So that might be exactly what you need to come down and rest with lift at the ankle joint. Now, if you notice that your hips are quite high once you come down, no problem at all. Just take a second blanket on top of the bolster and build this up to come to you. In restorative yoga, we always want to let the props hold us instead of feeling like we need to come down to the props. So once you've set it up, lower your chest, walk your hands forward with the palms face down, and turn a cheek to the blanket or the bolster. Close the eyes here and do a check-in with yourself just to make sure that you feel very comfortable, very held, and that there's nothing else that you need to do to be supported. Often when we feel stress and overwhelm, it can indicate a lack of support in our lives, whether that's from those around us or a sense of inner support within ourselves. So all you need to do in this moment is find your way to props that best support you exactly as you are. And once you've found that, I'll invite us into stillness and silence. This is where the mind might start to get busy. That's okay. Just feel your way into comfort, into ease and rest. About halfway through, I'll let you know to switch to the other cheek. For now, just soften and relax. If you'd like to turn your other cheek to the support, just lift the head, slide to the other cheek now, and continue to rest. Find one more breath in this pose. And now lifting your head, turning the forehead back down to the props. Start to walk your hands back toward you, lift the chest. Rise up through the pelvis, send the knees back into table. Extend the right leg back, tucking the toes under. Feel any rush of lightness or freedom arrive in that right leg, and follow that by the left as well. Breathe easy. Observe any sensation physically that you feel in the legs, in the knees especially. Dropping both of the knees, walk yourself back and off of the props. Let the heart rise and just check in for a moment, any comfortable seat if it feels better to sit cross-legged rather than continuing to close at the knees, do so. We're going to transition now into mountain brook. So move the bolster off to the side. Take the blanket, the basic fold blanket, and fold the short sides together once. And then from this blanket, take the long side and roll it up into a rolled blanket. This will come at the very edge of your mat with about a hand's width of space. The other two blankets will be stacked in their rectangle fold shape. So you already have one like that, most likely. Do another and stack them both on top. Leave about 4 inches between the rolled blanket and then these flat rectangle blankets stacked. Turn around and move the bolster here to the other side of the mat. Extend your legs long over top. Let the knees go wide. Because I'm using a flat bolster, I like to pull the bolster up a little bit closer to the thighs. If you have a round bolster, you can use that here instead. And then lower yourself down so that the backs of your shoulder blades are supported on top of the blankets. So this might take a little movement forward and back in order to find that space. Once you arrive, the tops of your shoulders will drop onto the floor in between the sets of blankets, and the back of the neck will rest on the rolled blanket. Arms come to a T in between the sets of blankets. Palms face up. Do a last check-in here to make sure that there's no tension in your low back. And if there is, I recommend that you either lift your knees higher or you lower the blanket stack underneath your shoulders. We are intentionally tipping the chin upward, but if that does not serve your neck, then feel free to allow it to be in line with the forehead. So the chin and the forehead are in one line, supported by the blanket. After you've done any last little check-ins to make sure this feels entirely comfortable for your body, close the eyes. Soften the lips, forehead, the whole face here. And feel yourself being draped over the props, effortlessly held. Reminding yourself that in this moment, there is only this. Feel the nowness of your body in this space. Nothing to tend to or control or do or manage. Just this moment of relaxation. Give yourself permission to stay here. And I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Bring your attention to your heart. Observe how it feels in the center of the chest. And then very slowly, make little movements with your fingers and your toes. Breaking that spell of stillness, begin to bend the knees one at a time and place the feet on the bolster. Choose a side to roll onto and go there now. Using your hands and the blankets as support. And then take your time and push yourself up sideways. As you come to a seat, continue to feel into what's here as a result of just being here now. Just observe hold this field of space in your awareness. And let's transition into a supported supine spinal twist. So taking the rolled blanket and unrolling it, fold the short sides together. Then place that right back at the top of the mat. Take one of the rectangle fold blankets and place it over off to the left side of your mat. The other one is going to come in front of you to the right. And then your bolster will come behind you alongside where this blanket is for your arm. So we're starting on the left hip. So make sure you are on your left hip here. And as you come down onto the shoulder and the hip, stack the legs at the ankles and the knees and place this long rectangle fold blanket in between. Then extend that left arm long and rest your head here on the blanket. You might need a little bit more lift for your head. If you notice that your chin is really high up and your forehead is down, you might like to fold that again. We're going to reach around behind and snug the bolster up against the hips and the mid-back, but leave space for your shoulder. Your right arm is going to now extend and open onto the blanket that's waiting for it. Let the head rest either facing up toward the ceiling or take it over to gaze at the left fingers. You can check in and make sure that your knees and your hips are in 90-degree alignment with one another. Feel supported by the prop at your back, the bolster. And then invite the eyes to close if you wish. If it still feels uncomfortable to keep the eyes closed, simply soften the gaze and gaze at one thing, developing that easy sense of concentration, letting the senses of eyesight and movement through touch become more still. And this will be a shorter hold. Let the breath flow as it likes here. Tune into any physical sensations in the body. And keep moving back to those physical sensations whenever you feel yourself carried away and swept by thought. No problem if you do. It's natural, normal. Just anchor into something in the body that you can sense and feel. Take your time and allow the right arm to sweep back across the body, landing over near the left. Keeping the blanket between the legs, roll onto your back. Once there, move the bolster across the body to the other side, followed by the blanket that you used for your arm. Now come over onto your right hip and we'll repeat the pose on this side. Take your time to set up your pelvis and your shoulders, stacking them both, readjusting the props as you need, especially the bolster behind your back. And then in your own time, the left arm opens up across the body, finds its way to the blanket. The gaze may be either up or over to the right fingers. Soften into any resistance or tension that you feel. Especially relax the mouth and the throat. And arrive here in silence and stillness. Take one last breath in this pose. And then prepare for movement by finding the left fingertips, making gentle movements perhaps, and eventually bringing that arm back over to meet the right. Once there, remove the blanket from between the legs and lift up sideways. Take your time. Use your hands to press yourself up, coming around to a seat of your choice. Let's take the hands to the knees here, and 3 times we'll rock the spine forward and back in a cat and cow-like motion. So inhale and allow your belly and your chest to come forward, bending the elbows. Exhale, extend through the arms, rock onto the tailbone, curl into the back. Go slow with your breath. Maybe even gazing up, soft gaze, curling down and in as you gaze down. Finding some equality now that we've come out of the twist. Bringing ourselves back to center. Lift upright. Let go of the grip of your knees, and we'll transition into our final pose, which is legs up the wall. So bring your mat perpendicular to an open wall space, and we'll begin. We'll use 2 of our blankets for this. The one that you had as a rest for your head, you'll bring again here toward the middle of the mat, and take one of your rectangle fold blankets, open it up a couple times, and place that closer to the wall as an extra support and padding for your hips, as well as your arms when your arms come to rest in a V. I find it easiest to sit with my back against the wall, tuck and roll your way in. So let your legs splay off of one side of your mat, reach your arms forward, take the innermost arm to your mat, tuck it under, and then begin to roll. Send your legs up and readjust yourself so that your head is on the blanket. The neck is free and loose. You do not have to be all the way touching the wall here. If that's not available for you, scoot away until the back of your pelvis is completely on the floor. Make any adjustments, perhaps some extra padding between your legs and the wall. If your legs are quite far from the wall, you can place your bolster there. If you find it's difficult for your legs to remain open and the feet to be stacked above the knees, which are above the hips, you might take a strap or a scarf and loop that around your calf region. Once you feel settled, open your arms into a V with the palms face up and close the eyes. If at any time you feel uncomfortable in legs up the wall, then feel free to walk your feet down. Push the soles of the feet together and the knees wide. Let some feeling return back into the legs and then reach them back up again. We'll hold this for some time, so feel free to come out sooner if that works better for you. If legs up the wall is just not available to you today, then try legs up the chair instead. Take a fuller breath in, followed by a big breath out the mouth. Do that 2 more times. Feel yourself sink into the floor and relax the legs even more with this next exhale. Invite a sense of deep rest. Of letting everything be as it is. Just for this moment, letting yourself be okay with doing nothing. I'll let you know when it's time to transition. Notice the softness of your heartbeat. The subtle breath moving freely on its own. Allow your toes to awaken with gentle movement. Take your time as you draw your knees inward, walking your feet down the wall. Choose one side to roll onto and extend that arm overhead. Let your knees drop and roll off to that side, curling up into a ball. Letting the feeling return into the feet. Again, take your time as you press up. Coming into a seat on your mat. Let the eyes be soft or closed here as you bring your hands together at the heart in Anjali Mudra, both palms together. Knowing that we need support, that we're not in this life alone, and affirming that we can take the time to relax and slow down because it fuels all of our actions to come. We honor all the realized beings who have passed along this knowledge of yoga to us. Release the palms now. Start to open the eyes and welcome yourself back into your space. Look around the edges of your eyes. Does it seem brighter? Perhaps more light in your experience? I'd love to know how this went for you, so feel free to share in the comments. Give this video a like and subscribe. Visit my website, CarenBaginski.com, for even more yoga practices like this. And I welcome you into my community Held if you'd like to practice live. I'll see you next time.